Ooh. I'll put this down here. Trees and bones. And just to demonstrate how easy it is to make art. Really, it's all just little transformations. That very nice little stainless steel waste bin becomes a plinth, the acorn becomes a tree, and the oak tree, to my mind, becomes a sculpture. I'd like to start by making a small tribute to a very extraordinary molecule, chlorophyll. And chlorophyll, as we all know, is a pigment that initiates the beautifully sequenced events leading up to photosynthesis. Now, Dan and I have this piece of work in exhibition at the moment in Milan, in an exhibition called Terre Vulnerabile, Vulnerable Earth. And we call it a photographic photosynthesis. And what you're actually looking at is just seedling grass, nothing else. We arrived 2 weeks before the show was due to open to the public. We mixed up lots and lots of really, really muddy clay. We smeared it on that area of the wall, very, very high scaff towers, and we germinate grass seed to the point that it's popping a little root hair, and we press it into the clay. We make the room into a complete dark room. And instead of an enlarger, instead of using a light-sensitive paper, photographic paper, we've adapted the photographic art of making a positive print by using the extraordinary power of chlorophyll. So where the light falls, you have the green pigment, and where no light falls, the grass grows. Of course it grows, but it's acid yellow and etoliated. It cannot make the starches. It cannot photosynthesize. When you take away the projector and you turn the light on low, then you have this extraordinary, bewitching photograph just in the grass. Now, we've been making these pieces, amongst many, many other pieces of art, for many years. We make maybe one every 2 years, and I can honestly say that that moment that that projector is switched off, and I see that image, I have a revelation. I have a revelation about the power and the beauty of nature, and I'll always hold that. I'd like to talk about a piece that was born out of Dan and my experience of going to the high Arctic. And it's a piece which has to do with this. Does anybody recognize this bone? It's a polar bear bone. I have to say that you're not allowed to take any bones out of Svalbard. They're highly protected. We spoke with the environmental manager, and she said that she had a bone sitting on her shelf. She goes, let me go and check. It might be a muskox. She came back and she said, no, it's a polar bear bone. I said, can we please have it? And she said, yes. It took 4 years to get this bone and other bones across. We then decided that we were going to burn this bone. And on a little barbecue set in our courtyard, we incinerated it. Sorry. Oh, why isn't it going, David? Oh, this one. Yep. How to stop a good story. So we had the burnt bone. Out of the bone, we extracted the graphite. And this was sent off to a company in Chicago. Now, this company in Chicago can make diamonds. Something like a diamond is probably one of the oldest things on the planet of this Earth. Scientists reckon it could be 3.3 billion years old, much older than the rock that transports it up for us to find. And now, we can make diamonds in a matter of months. That's how extraordinary our technology is. That's how extraordinary the pace of life is now. So we now have this very, very beautiful diamond. It's tiny. It's in exhibition at the moment in America. And for us, it very simply poses a question. What price are we paying for carbon? I'm now going to come to the tree, which is holding center stage here. At what point does a tree become an artwork? In 2007, Dan and I made a train journey down to the German city of Kassel. And in the German city of Kassel, which every 7 years holds this remarkable art event called Documenta, is an exceptional work of art. 7,000 oak trees have been planted throughout this city by the German artist Joseph Beuys. Now, Dan and I collected about 700 acorns. We ferreted them into our bag, we brought them back to England, and we potted them up. We have about 250 surviving saplings. I'll say one word here: squirrel. I could say two, and one of them wouldn't be grey. Actually, I really fell out of love with squirrels when I realised they had just about a third of our stock. It just pointed out their astuteness. I really think that the headquarters of squirrels at the bottom of the garden where we were growing them. And it was a bit bruising coming up against nature's predatory instincts. You know, I can't say that we lost those acorns easily, but at the same time, it really highlighted for us how important Joseph Beuys is. Now, I'll just give you a very brief explanation of Joseph Beuys. He is regarded as one of the leading artists of the 20th century. He was one of the former co-founder members of the German Green Party, but he got out of politics when he realised how toxic it was. He created a level playing field between art, aesthetics, ecology, education, politics. He refused to put one above the other, but he said not one of those things has worth, has value, unless the biosphere is nutritious, not just for humans, but for all species need. Now, he planted his first tree in 1982 to celebrate the opening of the 7th Documenta in Germany. He died a year before the last tree was planted by his son, Wenzel. 25 years later, given the conversations we're all having daily in your work, knowing what we're up against, I think that Joseph Beuys's work, his approach, is more timely than ever before. So Dan and I now have about 250 surviving saplings. We last showed them at the Royal Academy. I should also say that we're very aware that these pots aren't good for trees. We are about to plant them all up into air pots. We like the mobility. We want to be able to transport these trees around. Whilst we show these trees, we're having a series of engagements, discussions, with people who catch our imagination, people who are doing really interesting work out there. So we've had a conversation with Dr. Roland Enos, public dialogue. Now, Dr. Roland Enos is head of life sciences at University of Manchester. For the last 10 years, he's dedicated his research to understanding how trees behave in the urban space, how vegetation really works for us. There's no data. There's no data. So we can sit under a cooling tree and say, on a hot day, this is fantastic. And we know we need more trees in the city, but the data isn't there. He's providing it. He's shown with his students, if we increase by 10% trees in the city centre, we are lowering surface temperatures by 4 degrees. He says, plant now, and we can actually start to climate-proof our cities by 2080. Plus, it slows down rainwater fall-off. Now, he's actually doing a project at the moment called iTrees, 27 plots of ground, 3 metres by 3 metres, 7 grass, 7 trees, 7 tarmac. At the moment, the trees are cooling that plot of ground 3 times more quickly than the grass. One tree is cooling the globe temperature 5 to 6 degrees. The grass, however, is absorbing water runoff by 95%, whereas the trees are only absorbing water runoff by 65%. A fast-growing tree, you have to get the soil good, and this is what he's also looking at. How do we get urban trees going really well? A fast-growing tree will reduce temperatures by 7 kilowatts. Well, that doesn't mean a hell of a lot to me, but actually it's equivalent to 2 to 3 air conditioning units. His research will start to come to a conclusion next year. Papers are already being published, but he's paving the way that that data can become policy. And Joseph Beuys said, our trees, our cities, this is in the 1980s, should become forest-like. I think that actually Joseph Beuys had his finger right on the button. I think we're moving in that direction. Thank you very much.